Welcome to the Cash Car Convert Podcast, episode 23.
You're listening to the Cash Car Convert Podcast with James Kinson.
Hello and welcome to the Cash Car Convert Podcast. My name is Steve Stewart, and I am the Cash Car Convert Podcast's biggest fan. It's April Fool's Day on the day of this release, and we're playing a little bit of a joke today. James is taking the day off, and I am commandeering this podcast and a number of other shows for April Fool's Day. To give you a little bit of a background, last year I switched shows with another podcaster in my niche, and it was a blast. We heard from our listeners who thought they had downloaded the wrong show, and just as a disclaimer, nobody was harmed in the taping of our shows. But this year, I'm going bigger, and James Kinson was gracious enough to let me take over his show today and talk about how to get out of the car payment business, as well as a podcast by Jared Easley called Star of the Doubts, and Stacking Benjamin's podcast over at stackingbenjamins.com. So you'll actually find me in all three places today, April Fool's Day. You might want to go check them out. It's been a lot of fun. But enough about me. This isn't about me. This is about you, the listener. And this is the podcast where cash cars are cool and auto debt is dangerous to your financial future. So let's get to it. Let's talk today about getting out of the car payment business. The largest purchase most people make is their house. The second is their cars. And dealers know this, but they won't share that detail with you. They don't want to put a spotlight on it. They will show you how they can get you into this car for the low monthly payment of fill in the blank. Monthly payments are the biggest distractions that salesmen use against us, and we eat it up. The future wealth of middle and lower America is sapped by the you gotta have a car payment mentality, but it's not too late to change. It's never too late to change. And today it's time. It's time to get out of the car payment business. The first thing we need to do is identify how much car is too much. We can use a simple formula to decide if we have too much car. That is to say, do we need to get rid of the car that we have and buy a cash car like James is always talking about, or can we go ahead and pay it off? Here is the simple formula that you can use to decide if you have too much car. You ready? Go back to your checkbook, go back to your budget, go back to wherever you track your spending. Compare how much you spend on gasoline to your monthly car payment. If you're spending more on your monthly car payment than you are on the gas that you run in the car, then you've got too much car. This is a really important step, and if you have a car payment, you need to do this right now. Go ahead and pause the podcast. Go look at your car right now. Where is it? Unless you're driving it, where is your car right now? Go take a look. All right, you're back now? Where's your car? Where is it? It's likely to be parked in a garage, in the driveway, in a parking lot, or on the street. If you're spending more on a car payment than on the gas that turns the wheels to get you to your destinations, then you're paying a premium for parking, and you should seriously consider selling the car. But if you decide that you want to keep this car, you want to keep this car payment and stay in the car payment business, then you need to follow what I call the 2 times rule. If you're so completely enthralled with the car that you have that you just can't bear to part with it, and I know people who are, then you have to swear and abide by the 2 times rule. There's 3 pieces to this rule you have to follow. The first one, raise your right hand in the air. The second one, place your left hand on a stack of Bibles. And the third one is to swear to keep the car that you have car payments on for twice as long as it takes to pay off the loan. It's as simple as that. There's no complicated math to it. You simply have to swear to keep the car for twice as long as it takes to pay off the loan. Let's use the example that you signed on to a 5-year car loan with Ford Financial. Then you need to keep and drive that car, that SUV, that truck for 10 years. Let's think about that for a minute. Do you love this car enough to commit to driving it for a decade? See, most people don't want to keep a car more than a couple of years. But if you're going to keep a car with payments on it, you have to keep it for twice as long as it takes you to pay off the loan. Following the 2 times rule will give you the motivation to pay off the loan early, pay it off fast. And it will also prevent you from rolling any negative equity into your next purchase. That's a wonderful side benefit of the 2 times rule. Let me give you a little bit of hope, too, though, that you can kill that debt in under 2 years. This may require that you pull out a calculator, and of course, if you're driving the car that you have payments on right now, you probably don't want to be doing that. Keep your hands on the wheel, please. But here's how you can see if you can kill the debt in under 2 years. The first thing you need to do is look at your monthly budget to see how much money you can throw at your auto loan debt. Take that dollar amount, and here's the 3 calculations. First, take that amount that you have extra in your monthly budget and multiply that number by 24. Let's use the example of $200. 200 times 24 is $4,800. Write that number down somewhere. The second step is to multiply your normal monthly car payment by 24 as well. Let's use the example of $300. 24 times 300 is $7,200. The third and final calculation is to add those 2 totals together and compare it to your car's payoff balance. Using the example of the extra $200 a month from our budget and the $300 we're already going to send to the car payment anyway, that comes to a total of $12,000 in 2 years. When you compare that amount that you can send against the loan to the balance of your vehicle, you can see if you can realistically pay off the car in less than 2 years. If you can't, then it's probably time to sell the car and buy a cash car. This goes for both new cars and for used cars. Don't let payments on a depreciating asset keep you in the middle class forever. James Kinson encourages us to pay cash for our cars. It's an economically sound solution for the biggest financial drain on our budgets. It's also very hard to do when you're just getting started. Maybe this is the first time you thought about getting out of the car payment business. You may be sitting there thinking, well, that's all well and good for a theory, but, I can't pay cash for a car. I can't pay this one off. What can I do if money's really tight and I just can't make either one of these ways happen? The first suggestion that James and I would probably give you is to sacrifice everything you can in lifestyle and throw everything you can at the budget so you can get it paid off early, or save up to pay for a cash car. To many of you, that may seem impossible, but it is possible. But let me give you a little bit of solace to at least push you in the right direction, to get you to where you're getting out of the car payment business someday. And you already know what it is. You can use the same 2 times rule for every car that you buy on payments. If paying cash for a car just seems impossible to you and only car payment seems to be the solution, then I challenge you to do this. And following this process could get you to the point where you're buying a different car every 2 years. Are you interested? All right, here you go. If you have to buy a car right now with a loan, then buy a used car and pay off the loan as quickly as possible. Once the debt is gone, you can start to save for your next down payment because you're following the 2 times rule, right? Let's say it took you 4 years to pay off that car loan. You're keeping the car for 8. That gives you 4 years without car payments that you can save that car payment in the bank for your next vehicle purchase. That'll give you a wonderful down payment. And if for some reason after 8 years you still don't have enough saved up to pay cash for your next vehicle to buy a cash car, then you start that process again. But your next car that you buy with a loan should be a very small loan. You should have a good chunk of money to put down as down payment on the balance of this next vehicle. You buy a used car, you pay it off as quickly as possible, you follow the 2 times rule. Let's say it took you 2 years to pay off that next vehicle's loan. Then you keep it for 4. And by the way, these used cars don't depreciate as fast as a new car. So you're selling the old car. The equity that you might have built up into that paid for cash car, you can use towards the payment of the next vehicle with your down payment. You're going to get to the point where you're going to be able to pay cash for your next vehicle. What could you do without a car payment? What could you do if you had enough money in the bank to go out and buy a cash car? Instead of maintaining a car payment for the next decade, why not work this plan? And in a decade, you'll be able to pay cash for a used car. You'll be able to then turn over a car every few years with the equity in the cash car you already have, plus the monthly car payments that you no longer have that you can instead save for yourself. What kind of vehicle could that be? $10,000? $15,000? It could be a $20,000 vehicle. And that gets you out of the car payment business forever. Purchasing quality used vehicles will keep us from paying a premium for parking. Getting rid of the debt will help us to save for the next car. And continuing to purchase cars wisely while saving money for down payments, it will get you to your destination. And you will become a cash car convert. Feel free to share this information with others, those who are saying, I'll always have a car payment, the ones who just can't figure out why they're not getting ahead financially, but we know why. It's the $500 a month car payment. For more information on kicking your car debt or teaching others how to kick their car debt to the curb, check out cashcarconvert.com/023. Hey, it's Steve Stewart back again. James is one of the nicest, kindest guys I've ever digitally met. And if you want James to come back and do the show again, then you need to go to iTunes and leave him a review. Okay, I'm kidding, but he will be back next week. But I would still encourage you to go out to iTunes or to Stitcher and leave him a glowing rating and review for Cash Car Convert. You understand the value that James brings. Please leave him an awesome review so that others might stumble across his great message and become cash car converts as well. Thank you again for listening to the Cash Car Convert podcast, where we want to help you buy a cash car and kick auto debt to the curb. This may be April Fool's Day, but that ain't no joke.